So a new flanker for Terre D'Hermes has just launched by Hermes. It is called Terre D'Hermes Eau Intense. I'll let you know all about this fragrance, plus discuss the previous editions, all coming right up. Thanks so much for tuning in. This is Sebastian with Smelling Great Fragrance Reviews. I appreciate you tuning in today to watch my review. This is the channel you tune into to find about new fragrances, discovering new brands, participating in giveaways. And if you still haven't subscribed to my channel, please click the subscribe button below and also click the bell so that you'll be notified for future videos and giveaways. So this is flanker number 4 from Hermes' popular, very popular Terre D'Hermes collection of fragrances. The original was launched in 2006. It's funny because when I first found out about this fragrance, I was reading a magazine called Departures. This is a special magazine that's sent to American Express Platinum members, and I was reading about this particular fragrance in that magazine back in 2006 and who the perfumer was. At that time, I was not so into reading about perfumers or like really researching it. And then when I caught that little article, it was a very tiny little article about the launch of the new Hermes Terre D'Hermes. I got really excited. So I read the article. I was so excited that I had to go find this fragrance, and luckily Nordstrom's was carrying it, and I bought my very first bottle of the Eau de Toilette. So that was launched in 2006. It's funny because I bought it and I took it with me on a trip to France. My very first time I was visiting France, October, and I bought it for my birthday in September. So I wore that fragrance a whole lot. In 2009, I believe, they launched the not EDP even, the pure perfume version, the Parfum version of Terre D'Hermes. They're sort of very similar. I mean, there's some nuances. Of course, the Parfum version is a very concentrated version of it. In 2014, I believe they launched the Eau Très Fresh version. And then finally, in 2018, we have Terre D'Hermes Eau Intense. And we have a brand new perfumer that worked on this, Christine Nagel, whereas the previous 3 editions was Jean-Claude Helena. And that's the perfumer I read about where they wrote in that little paragraph about how he created Terre D'Hermes. So this is a woody aromatic fragrance. A 100 ml bottle like this is $132. So it is on the pricier side, but then again, it is also Hermes. They're a luxury goods designer house, so their pricing is pretty high for even their traditional designer releases. They also have a 50 ml bottle of this, and it's around the $100 mark. This is EDP concentration, and it's all about vetiver here, and it does say Eau Intense Vetiver. So the notes here are vetiver, citruses, or bergamot according to Hermes' website, and then Sichuan pepper. So you have 3 notes. To me, it's not necessarily about bergamot only. In the original Terre D'Hermes, the Eau de Toilette, it was about oranges. So you had that nice fusion of oranges, citrusy, juicy, sweet oranges with the earthy, woody, dark vetiver. And you have that here, but you have more citruses. It's actually not so intense compared to what I thought I was going to get. Eau Intense means intense water. But Eau usually means water, so it's kind of like a contradictory term. Eau is usually light to me, intense is usually, means intense. So it's a bit contradictory here with the naming of this fragrance, at least to me, but if I'm understanding it wrong, do correct me. But it's not that I don't like the scent, I just thought it was going to be a lot more intense, but I don't get that. At least the vetiver is not so intense because the citrus is in here, it makes it kind of watery. But I think what they're referring to, the intensity, is the fact that they've added Sichuan pepper in here. And the Sichuan pepper gives it a little bit of a bite, which is quite unique compared to the original Terre D'Hermes and the Terre D'Hermes Parfum. Now, Eau Très Fresh was completely different than the other 2. And also, it doesn't smell like this either. This to me smells more like the first 2 versions, the original Terre D'Hermes compared to Eau Très Fresh. But there is subtle differences, and I like that this is, actually it's a bit more classier to me. It's not as rough as far as the vetiver goes. The vetiver can be a bit too vetiver-y for some people in Terre D'Hermes, which I like, but here it's just a little more additional layer of classiness compared to the original Terre D'Hermes. And even though I find Terre D'Hermes to be quite classy. I find this one to be a little classier. The subtleties give it an interesting layer of classiness to me, which I quite like. Now, when you first spray this fragrance, you do experience something completely different, not necessarily similar to the original Terre D'Hermes, but as the fragrance is drying and drying and drying, it starts smelling more and more and more like the original Terre D'Hermes. So the only difference is here upon initial spray is where you experience the differences of this particular version versus the previous two versions. Actually, the first two versions, not the previous two. But afterwards, then it starts smelling really like Terre D'Hermes. So you've got the differences here, but then you also have a lot more similarities. So this is a flanker where if you're thinking you're going to get something completely different, like Eau De Fresh, the previous edition that came before this, in the white rimmed bottle and the white cap here, you're not. It's going to be more similar to the original Terre D'Hermes and the Terre D'Hermes Parfum, whereas Eau De Fresh was completely different to me, which is kind of what I was expecting here. I was hoping to have something a little more unique rather than smelling like something that I'm already used to. Even though I kind of prefer this version now compared to the original Terre D'Hermes Eau de Toilette and Parfum, because I'm burnt out on Terre D'Hermes. I've worn so much of it. It's like, and you can smell it a lot of places, like as you're walking around, people do wear this fragrance, the original. It is like one of those fragrances that's a staple in a man's fragrance wardrobe. So I like this over that. There are differences, but the more I wear it, the more of the Terre D'Hermes original DNA comes through. And I'm like, okay, I've been there and done that before. So I was kind of hoping for something a little more interesting, more of a flanker. Whereas in, like, let's, for example, go with Mugler, you have Amen, but you have all these different flankers, like Pure Malt is completely different, Pure Havana is completely different, Ultra Zest is completely different, a Cryptomint is completely different. I was hoping for something like that, but there's not a lot of differences here where it might warrant you to pick this up just because you thought, okay, it's an intense version, if that makes sense. So there are a lot more similarities to the original Terre D'Hermes and the Parfum versus differences, if that makes sense. So I guess I would use caution to pick this one up. I think maybe perhaps get some samples or decants because, as I said, there's not too much difference compared to the original. There are some subtle differences. Yes, you have a little bit of a twist with that Sichuan pepper, and the citruses seem to be a little more citrusy rather than orangey, like lemony bergamoty, and orange as well rather than just orange. So you have those subtle differences, but everything else seems the same to me. Even the vetiver seems like it's the same kind of vetiver, especially after it's sprayed and it's dried down on you. So I think it's a toss-up. If you're a huge, huge fan of Terre D'Hermes and you do have the original and you have the Parfum and you also have the Eau De Fresh and you want something a little different, then I recommend this one. But if you do not like redundancy, then test it before you get it, because on you it might act a little different compared to me. For me, I don't find too much differences, especially when it's dried down. It all becomes like the original Terre D'Hermes. I'm not saying it's a bad release. It's a great, great scent. It's still great. Me, myself, I'm kind of burnt out on the scent itself. And I myself was looking for something a little more unique, a little more twist to the original vetiver. How much changes can you do to vetiver? I was actually kind of thinking maybe they go in a complete different direction. Like I've been seeing some boozy vetiver fragrances, bourbon vetiver fragrances, and maybe perhaps they go in that direction, but I don't think so. I think they have a solid release with Terre D'Hermes, and they're just kind of doing a little change here to give it a little bit of a unique twist to it. Other than that, it's pretty much the same. So check it out, and maybe you like it, and perhaps you won't, and you won't think it's necessary to pick up a bottle. But there it is. That's Terre D'Hermes Eau Intense Vetiver. Guys, have you tried Terre D'Hermes Eau Intense Vetiver? Do you like vetiver fragrances in general? Do you like Terre D'Hermes, or do you hate it? Let me know your thoughts. Put some comments down, and let's get a conversation started. Also, if you don't like Terre D'Hermes but you love vetiver, let me know what your favorite vetiver fragrances are, because I'd like to know and find out. And are you familiar with Christine Nagel? I think she's the in-house perfumer now at Hermes, whereas it used to be Jean-Claude Elena, and then Christine Nagel started working with Jean-Claude Elena, and I think Jean-Claude Elena is no longer. But anyway, that is the bottle right there, and just a little more information. The box is pretty similar, although it was in a sleeve like that. Other than that, that's pretty much it. That's Terre D'Hermes. Alright guys, thanks so much for watching this video. Please like this video, please share it. Follow me on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, and I'll be back with more videos very soon. Have a good one. Goodbye.